Hello.
Hello, assalamu
I
alaikum.
can hear you. Alaikum assalam. I can't see me though.
Yeah, I can't see you either. You're all black.
I'm
I
not
can see
sure what's
me,
happening here. Oh, there I was.
and
It's
there
all
you are again.
yes.
Wa alaikum assalam. How's it going?
Good, good. Alhamdulillah, you made me get ready after work.
I know. Well, but if it makes you feel any better, I
Yes.
didn't get ready at all.
Okay. That does not make
Okay,
me feel any better.
that is yeah, exactly. I look this pretty just on my own all the time.
All the time.
Sorry, I'm a little late.
No worries. No worries at all.
I figured, it's a Muslim thing. How would it look if we started on time?
Yeah.
Log kya
Exactly.
kahen, log kya
क्या
kahenge?
कहेंगे लोग क्या कहेंगे?
Exactly. It doesn't.
Like, what will they say?
It doesn't look good.
It does not look good at all.
Awesome. Well, welcome to our podcast. My name is Khurram Rashid, and I'm just thrilled to finally kick off this project. The goal here is to just explore the lives, challenges, and successes of the Muslim community in the GTA. We'll do our best to have very open, honest conversations with people from all walks of life. I'm so excited for the journey ahead, and we hope you'll come along.
That sounds
Awesome.
exciting. I'm very excited for you.
It does.
Yes.
It does. So today we have a very special guest, someone who's deeply involved in the community work and also a creative entrepreneur. She's a marketing manager at the NISA Foundation, which is doing amazing work with Muslim women and children across Canada. She's also the founder of Geekabi's World, where she combines her love for geek culture and art. Nuzaira, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, I'm glad. It's an honor to be here. It's pretty awesome. I'm very honored. I just, when you called me up the other day and you're like, it's going to be my first guest, and I'm just like, oh my God. And Simon's just like, don't let it get to your head. It's all good. I'm like, no, I'm very honored. This is really exciting. And inshallah, I want to see this like blossom. I want to see like so much more conversations with different people in our community and how they're living their life and and just existing like so peacefully with one another.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thanks so much. Thank you so much for being such a good sport.
Of course.
The honor is truly my own.
Oh,
Awesome. Before we do actually dive into our conversation, let me just start with a
yes.
quick overview for anyone new here. So this is going to, inshallah, be all about spotlighting the lives of Muslims in Mississauga, the GTA, Canada, and sometimes even the US, or who knows, the world. We want to talk about our stories, our achievements, our struggles, and really everything in between. We're here to have some conversations that reflect the diversity and complexity of our experiences. And today we're starting off with you. I think you're doing some, you know what, honestly, I really think you are doing some really incredible work, both in nonprofit and creative spaces. And I realized that actually I don't know much about what you do. So now I can't wait to hear what you have to say. So tell me, here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
I know you've been really active in the community, especially through your work at the NISA Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
My first question is, can you share any recent example of something positive you've seen happening in the community, something that just was uplifting and made you feel good?
Just the fact that so many people know about NISA Foundation now, it's becoming a common household name. From when I started, when it was Nuzaira and NISA Homes, to now NISA Foundation. Not a lot of people knew about NISA Homes. It was a lot of you saw them at RIS and you stopped by, but then it was just at the back of your mind. But now, mashallah, we've expanded so much into the community and across Canada and even honestly the world. We get so many requests of organizations from across the world wanting for us to teach them how to set up an organization like that. So it's very uplifting to see that people know that we exist, the work that we're doing, and they stand behind us. And yeah, like that makes me so happy. From where we started, from the stigma, from there's a lot of things we deal with. There's that are rooted in stigma. But now those things are becoming they're not as stigmatized. And more people are taking a stand, and both men and women. It's not
Right.
just like, women are rallying behind women. It's men as well. They're waking up. Everybody's waking up, alhamdulillah.
It's wonderful. And
So
honestly, I feel like it shows such a positive growth, good movement to where the community is going. Like, honestly, I've had this conversation. I probably made this speech to you 1,000 times about how
mhm,
Muslims started coming to Canada, let's say 70s, early 70s. But
mhm,
in those initial first 20 years, it was a very slow
yeah,
trickle of people coming in. Then in the 90s was your boom. So whether you
mhm,
take it from the 70s or you take it from the 90s, we're barely 50 years old
yeah,
as a community. So the fact that within those 50 years, we've gone from having to drive 20 kilometers to get to a halal meat store, or not having any restaurants, or not having any services, to now where there's actually, organizations like NISA Foundation out there that are actually addressing some of our needs as a society, right? We can't just come here
mhm,
and make a little bit of money and get an education. We do
mhm.
have to take care of the people living here as well. Let's talk a little bit more about NISA Foundation. For those who aren't familiar, can you tell us what it's all about, and what kind of work do they do?
So NISA Foundation is a holistic organization that
Mhm.
provides many different services, like end-to-end services for women and children who are struggling with different challenges. So whether it's domestic violence,
Mhm.
which is one of the biggest challenges that we still see coming into NISA Foundation, or mental health, or even newcomers and refugees, which we're seeing a lot more now with what's happening in Palestine. We provide services like shelters, like women who can't speak the language, like they can't speak English, they can't go to shelters because they don't know how to communicate their needs and their wants. Just get into those shelters, right? We provide those safe spaces for them. We provide them with resources, trainings, and of course the simplest things, right? It's not even like, oh, we're providing them high level training. We're teaching them how to use the bank, how to go grocery shopping. It's basic, simple things that they're not used to or they haven't done in their life, and now they're having to do so being alone or without any other support. Mashallah, apart from the shelter and those resources and the casework that we provide for remote clients, we also have a helpline, which is open from 8 a.m. to midnight EST every single day of the year. They're open on Eid, they're open on Christmas, like all holidays. Um, they're working, and now mashallah we are available in 5 languages. Before we were just English. If anyone stumbled upon an Arabic speaking counselor, that's different. But now we have specific days for Arabic, French, we have Somali and Urdu. Those
Mhm.
services are available, and especially for the older generation who don't know how to reach out or don't or feel or can't
Right.
communicate what they're feeling, right? Um, so we have those services. We also have free web therapy, which is like full on registered therapists. You get 5 free sessions if you're a woman or a girl over the age of 14. And it doesn't matter what background you come from. It doesn't matter, like, if you're rich, you're poor. You can just call in, you can book an appointment and get that free. We're making therapy accessible. And then after those
Really?
five,
Really?
yeah, we're making
Therapy?
therapy. Yeah,
What,
like
reading Ayatul Kursi isn't going to take care of it? Just, well,
one, and then
no, come on. Who says mental health is a real thing? It's just fine. It's all right.
yeah.
It's all right. Yeah, no. I'm glad you guys I'm glad you guys are doing that. It's really inspirational. May Allah give you ajr. May He make it easy for you, and may He give you all the success in the world. You did mention that there's been a breaking of stigmas, particularly around domestic violence and
Yes,
divorce and women's empowerment.
yes.
And so let me say this. It was actually, I was really amazed to hear that, because my perception is completely different. the, the,
Mm-hmm.
the problem is that my perception is based entirely on my own experiences and a rather
Yes.
small sample size.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we don't have any studies or research being done on the number
No,
of
we don't.
cases, the
Yeah,
kinds of cases, the
yeah,
resolutions, etc. And that, in my opinion, is one of the biggest problems.
yeah.
Can
Mm-hmm.
you explain a bit more about what you've seen in this regard? How are people's attitudes changing? What is improving? What's happening?
So what I've seen is just in the span of 5 years. When I first started working with NISA Homes, the social media or email or like, the messages coming in, there was a lot of toxicity. There was a lot of people messaging in saying, oh my God, you're breaking families. Oh my God, you're doing this to, separate wives from husbands, or you're like, ruining the lives of children, et cetera, et cetera. It's a private matter. All of those things that we hear when things go wrong, people don't think it's good to interfere.
Right.
That's going down. You see that, and I see this in all generations that I've come across. So it's not just the young people, but I've come across older women as well, older men as well, who are like, wow, this is the work I stand behind. A lot of our major supporters are men. And they're well-established men in our community who are supporting us, and with their support we've been able to open so many shelters. Majority of our services that we have operating, they come from local support. It's not like we get grants, we get we get funding, but not as much as to operate a shelter or to run a helpline or to offer web therapy. Yes. Yeah, like
I see we have visitors. I like that.
She wanted my attention. She's like, you've been working all day and now you're back in front of a camera.
Exactly.
But yeah.
So who was that? Yumi or Sifu?
Yumi.
Which one was that?
My baby girl.
You know what, Yumi? Give me a second. I'll come back to you in a moment. Go ahead, Nuzaira.
But yeah, so in that regard, I've noticed a huge change and a shift. We don't have to fight as hard to talk about what we want to talk about, right? Like talking about domestic violence for us, it's not as hard as it was 5 years ago.
Right.
Getting that lashback. But I do agree that the stigma is still there. There's a lot of stigma still there, but I do see that it's breaking. And I do see that we are making like improvements in our community. The next one is mental health. Mental health stigma is still there.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's gonna take a while. Yes. Which actually leads me perfectly sort of into my next question. Do you think we still have any gaps in the kinds of services being offered, not necessarily from NISA Foundation, but from the community at large?
Yeah, I think we do have a lot of gaps. So senior services, we don't have senior services specific to seniors, and not just like women, but like both men and women, right? We don't have that. So we are actually, through our learning program, which is our preventative approach, we are offering workshops to help support seniors better in our community and to help seniors become a little bit more independent, because unfortunately, whether we like it or not, there's a lot of elder abuse. There's a lot of families where elders are not treated as respectfully. They're left to fend for themselves, and we want to, they're our responsibility too, right? Like as an extension of the Muslim community, there are parents, there are elders, and we do need to look out for them, whether it's by teaching them how to go grocery shopping, or like how to find communities where they can thrive. So I think there is a big gap. I know there are things in the works amongst the communities, but that I feel like is one of the bigger gaps. And then mental health is a huge gap still. So when we do our fundraising, it is one of the, especially during Ramadan, that takes a back burner, because we know that's not going to bring in the funding. People don't think mental health is a big deal still. Yeah. So like even this past Ramadan, most of our funding was based on focusing on harsher issues or something that will bring in the cash, which is unfortunately domestic violence.
Yeah. You were talking about elders. Well, you were talking about more about elder abuse, but I know from a NISA Foundation specific perspective, it's more focused on the NISA. That's very logical, but then also specific to abuse issues or domestic issues, things of that nature. However, we do have an aging population. I am, a couple of years older than you, not much, just one or two. So, and as the dynamics, exactly, yeah, no, just stick with it. It's fine. It makes me feel better. Does it hurt you? No. As the dynamics of the family are changing, and that joint family system is not what it used to be, and it's going to continue changing in Canada. as I go into that age, do you think we will be prepared to support our seniors? Do we have long-term care centers, senior facilities, senior support systems? Do we have those in place? Are we going to be left hanging when that time comes?
I feel like we are, but because I don't see anything. While it doesn't matter, like we're coming from like, you know, a family, we don't have kids, and this is not something that, you know, we didn't plan on, you know, making them our retirement plan in the first place. But you know, it's a little comfort knowing you have someone to support you if you need to. So people like us, like people who have lost their kids or people whose kids live far away and they can't for some reason join them, they need to have a place where they can live freely. And that's the whole thing as well, is that our generation, we're so used to living independently as well, that even relying on other people, even our kids, like thinking about that, like that was one of the conversations we had. It's like we weren't going to make our kids a retirement plan. We would save up, we would have something set in our place, and we would live. And if we needed support, obviously they're there, but we wouldn't make it incumbent upon them to help us.
Yeah.
And, you know, just to have that freedom to live our life the way we want to live without bothering anyone else. But I feel for that to happen, we do need those systems in place. We do need those long-term homes, senior homes that are catered to our needs, to our religion, to our culture. So we don't feel out of place. We don't feel like we have to request halal food or whatever. It's a good community system that we need to build.
And that makes a lot of sense. It's something that worries me at all. I'm really hoping as we get older, as my generation particularly, our generation gets older, we will realize that those services are required and we will step up.
Yeah.
So that leads into my next question. How? What can we do better? How can we prepare? So let's start. Actually, let me try and narrow it down for you a little bit. Let's start with NISA Foundation. Some of those stigmas that you are concerned about. What can we do as a community to help? Obviously, yes, funding is important. That part is easy. We know that. What else can we do to actually support an organization like that? Like
awareness. So NISA Learning, which is I was telling you about before, is our workshop branch. So it's basically we want to teach the community. We want to fix these problems at the roots so that inshallah one day we don't need a NISA Foundation. We don't need shelters, right?
Right.
We have that's like an idealistic.
That's a little idealistic, yeah. It is.
You know, we can work towards that, right? Get that problem early on. So we have programs. We have things like Raising Rajal, which is just like up your alley. It's a program for.
Yes, because I'm raising one.
Yes, you are raising one.
I am raising one. Yeah, it's so much fun.
Like basically, we want to introduce this into Muslim sports teams. Mashallah, we have a lot of here in Canada. And it basically it's a 15-minute session every coaching session, and they just talk about how to be a good man or how to treat women and what abuse is and how to live in the way of the prophets and just incorporate that in our teaching.
Exactly.
So a nice learning tool, and right now we're trying to promote it, and I get that a lot of coaches don't, and not just coaches, it's the organization, the systems, they don't want to change anything, but we want to show them that we can, and we can, and it's not something hard. It's a little bit more that you're adding on to the original practice in the first place, but it's in the long run, it's a great thing to have. It's a great tool.
Yeah. So how does it work? If I were a coach of some Muslim team or in a Muslim soccer league or basketball league or something like that, and I decide this sounds interesting, how would I go about getting those services, and how would that work?
Basically, we have 3 advocates right now who have learned and perfected our training. Is based on a healthy male training that's used in a lot of sports teams in the US. It's an actual developed system, but we're incorporating Islam into it.
Very nice.
So basically what we would do is our advocate would teach the coaches and work them through this training, and we will give them the tools. And what they need to do is through in their practices, just take 15 minutes out and go through so we have a whole deck of cards of practices and things that you need to learn.
So the coach would deliver the training themselves.
Deliver to the kids. Yeah.
Okay,
so
that's
we would train the coaches, and then the coaches would take over. So right now we're trying to get the buy-ins of people, but again, it's a systems, and systems are very hard to change. So inshallah, that's our goal going forward, to bring that knowledge. And alhamdulillah, we have some great advocates who are involved in the communities, who also have who are involved with sports teams, and hopefully we can show it through their success that these things work.
Beautiful. No, I love that. I'll get you send me a link or something so we can share it with the listeners and spread the word a little bit more. I'll tell you what, I'll ask you one last question from a NISA Foundation perspective, and then we'll move on. Is there any concern about expertise and skill sets when it comes to working in these fields? Are we producing children that can go and actually serve these organizations and serve the community intelligently? Is there any concern about not having a future generation that is prepared to do this job?
So from my experience with youth, so I've come across a lot of interns while working at NISA Foundation, and there are a lot of kids, and specifically girls, who want to be involved, and they are going to school for that reason. They're going to become social workers, they're becoming lawyers, they're getting these skill sets to basically serve the community, and they're very, very motivated. And honestly, through our events that we have, and mashallah, I've seen this with your daughter. Saba was inspired at our high tea that we had 5 years ago.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
And she told me, you have to tell your boss. It was great. But just seeing her become so inspired, and I think that's what we need. We need more professionals to be in these fields. And I know it's not a high-paying job, but the payoff is once you start working, alhamdulillah, it's amazing. It's the feeling of being able to make a difference has its own barakah and risk in it itself.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, and I think it's going to be amazing. Don't get me wrong. I have a daughter going into that field, and it worries me. It scares me as well. Just being a protective father, in all honesty, not just about the income potential, but also about the burnout rates. It is a difficult job to do.
It is
right. It's got a high burnout rate, but it has a lot of positive returns as well for yourself, for your self-worth, and also for what you do for the community. You actually, add value. I think you and I just need to go on a tour convincing people not to do business administration and computer science anymore, and start.
It's you need to become a social worker.
Exactly.
A social worker, right? Even a lawyer. If you want to become a lawyer, you can give back that way. When you were asking, how can people give back without even donating? Help out with becoming a lawyer that does a pro bono case.
I think it's a good opportunity for our community leaders to actually look at some of these things and strategically guide our children to go towards specific fields, identify where the gaps are, and then put them in those systems, whether it be through scholarships or mentoring programs, or setting some sort of a waqf to make that process easier for them. So there's an actual encouragement and incentive for our kids to want to go there. Right? It's not going to happen magically and automatically. Somebody's going to have to put effort into it.
Yeah. 100%.
You, Madame, are also a business owner. I know you mentioned Geekabi's world, which is such a fun and creative business. How did you come up with the idea? What is it? Tell us something about it.
So this actually stemmed from a webcomic. So I love Khuda Fahmi. I love Yes, I'm Hot in This. And for years, I was just following her and just reading her comics. And I was just I'm kind of quirky. I have some funny stories to tell. So I just started drawing. And I'm okay, I'll just post it and see what people think. And I got a good response. Everyone was genuinely liking what I was putting out. They found it relatable. So from there, I just, so first I was just posting it on my personal Instagram. And then from there, I went and just created my own Geekabi's world. Or the comic is called Geekabi versus the world. I created that, and for a while, a couple of years, I ran that really well. But then it started to kind of become a little harder to manage with work, and work becoming busy. But I managed to build connections as well. It started off really great, and it's still pretty good, but now it's branched off into an Etsy store, which I just wanted to play with the cricket machines. I got one and then made a sticker.
Not the sport.
Not the sport, not the but definitely.
I don't care about any other kind of cricket. It's the only cricket I care about.
No, not cricket. Cricket.
You're killing me. All right, fine.
But yes, from there I made some stuff and I'm like, what would happen if I just tossed it on an Etsy store? So I made a couple of things, tossed it on there, and I started getting sales. Granted, a few of them were obviously family and friends trying to support, but I feel like that's a huge thing for a business to have that family and friend support. It's so crucial to get started with that because for businesses now, marketing is super crucial, but having those reviews and those sales to start pushing yourself out there as a legitimate business, it's so important. So alhamdulillah, all the family was amazing and all the friends are great. They purchased a lot, but then I started getting sales and then I'm like, okay, let me just start putting a few things. I'm just the kind of person who doesn't really think about it, just kind of do it. Whether it's like anything, like I don't think too much. If I think too much on something, then I won't do it and it will never come to fruition, or I will do it really badly. So
well, that's my way of doing things. I think so much, I never do anything. It's worked out so far. It's been great.
It's been great.
Yeah, totally.
What you doing this podcast? Like,
exactly. Okay, so in that business, anything weird, any surprises or challenges along the way?
People like my art. That was like the biggest challenge.
Wow. Do we have some confidence issues there, Nuzaira?
Well, I have confidence issues when people from Britain buy a $3 sticker and then pay $12 shipping for it, and I'm just like, are you sure?
No, you're just that good.
Nothing weird. Alhamdulillah, so I haven't really been pushing it for the last few months. But inshallah, I'm starting to rev it up again. I'm starting to build up more designs and expanding to ship a print on demand as well, because I know I can't for the life of me manage work and making tote bags and things like that. So just outsourcing that work, and inshallah, let's see. We'll put some real, like the marketing that I actually use at work, I'll put it towards my own business for once and get somewhere. Inshallah.
May Allah give you success. I know you are we saw Yumi, I know you are a proud cat mom.
Yes.
So I've got to ask, very important question. What am I missing? I don't get it.
They're adorable. Oh my God, they're so lovely. And just like, I don't know, like we got them very young. So they were like practically like babies. So they were having all those accidents that babies have, and had me in tears at point where they would be like poop accidents or like food accidents, all kind of accidents. And I'm just like, I didn't sign up for this. I signed up for cuddling. So
awesome. No. Well, you know what? This has been such a great conversation, and I've really enjoyed hearing all about the work you're doing, from NISA Foundation to Geekabi versus the world, and your Etsy store. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to share with us or with our listeners? Maybe a project or a message you'd like to highlight?
So I shared a story with you that I want to just tell in my words as well. It's an eye-opening story, and it is what drives me to work at NISA Foundation. And like you've said, like the payoff, the work is hard. There is a lot of burnout when it comes to working with nonprofits, and sometimes you do get that like feeling of, what am I doing, right? Like, is it worth it? So a few years back, it was during COVID time. It was during Ramadan time actually, and I've had a hard day at work. During Ramadan is our busiest time, so we're like working long hours, like insane hours. So after work, Saim decided, he's like, I'm gonna draw you up a bath, just relax, chill. And I'm sitting in the bathroom waiting for the bath to fill up and the bubbles to be formed, because it was a nice fancy bubble bath. I get a message. So we have to monitor the messages really closely, especially during Ramadan, because that's when the uptick for clients is.
Really?
That's when a lot of abuse increases.
That's surprising. Okay, what?
It's very shocking when you learn about it, and then when you think about it a little bit, then you're like, yeah, I guess that makes sense a little, but it's crazy. So this woman, she messaged our account and I responded, and she's like, oh, I need help. my husband, he's trying to kill me, and he's right outside my bathroom door. Now imagine I'm sitting in the bathroom waiting for my husband has made me this lovely bubble bath. I'm waiting to just relax, and there's this woman somewhere out in this country who is in a bathroom fearing. She's holding the door. She's fearing for her life, fearing for her children's life. That broke me, but that also strengthened my resolve. So like that feeling that there's women out there who need us, like, and they're turning to us for help. And you know, they're living in similar houses. They have bathrooms, but like, what are they using? Like, they're using their bathroom to shelter from being killed or hit or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Versus like us, alhamdulillah, like we get to enjoy those blessings. And after that, I was just like, there's nothing that can break my resolve, and I want to continue working with NISA Foundation to do this work to help as many women as possible.
Yeah. No, you know what? Honestly, so
Yeah.
you know, that was a very difficult story. Obviously, I feel like it just emphasizes for me the importance of services like NISA Foundation. May Allah give you guys all the success, and may He just make you bigger so you can support all the women in need. And but at the same time, I make dua that you know you're not needed, so you get smaller. So both of those duas at the exact same time.
Yeah.
Thank you again so much for being a part of this episode.
This was really good. Yeah.
Beautiful. No, I'm glad you were able to make it. And thanks to all, you know, everybody else for tuning in. Jazakallah khair. Until next time. Wassalamu alaikum.